Lewis Show. We have a very special guest with us today, and I've promised myself to be nice to him. Doesn't happen very often, and it's reciprocal, but he is literally an icon in this area when it comes to hockey. Just to give you some numbers, this particular individual played 532 games in the International Hockey League, including most of them with the Saginaw Gears back in the day. He scored 312 goals, had 589 points, and spent 1,690 minutes in the penalty box. I always thought in order to honor him, we should name one of the penalty boxes after him. He is the one and only Denis DesRosiers. Rosie, good morning.
Good morning, Art. And
you're proud of that number, aren't you?
I'm innocent.
Oh,
they picked on me.
Yeah. Well, back in the day, back in the Gears and everything, teams had enforcers, didn't they? I mean,
they did, and every team had it, and that's just the way of hockey at that time. And
but you told me that if somebody ran on one of your players, you wouldn't get back to him that game. It would be the next game when they weren't expecting it that you ran them.
That happened sometimes, but sometimes you would do it right away. And, I look back on it now and shake my head, but usually back in those days, the enforcers were enforcers. They weren't
skilled players,
goal scorers.
Yeah, but you did both.
So I really had a difficult time making sure I was in the right lane at the right time. If we were down a goal and my teammates and coach were looking to me, hopefully to score a goal, then I had to bite my tongue on some of the challenges that I got, and so it was a kind of a fine line. I had to be very careful, and the other side of the coin is, especially in preseason, you had to play the preseason games. I hated them because you would always get the wannabe from the other team.
I want to prove how good they are.
I remember one time we were playing Kalamazoo in a preseason game and facing off on the line, and a wannabe player never made the team. I never seen him after this, but we're facing off. I'm a right winger. He's a left winger. He looked at me and he said, "Rosie, what kind of a girl's name is that?" He didn't say girls, though.
Yeah.
And I had long, shaggy hair. And
you were the meanest looking son of a gun.
Full beard.
I got the picture.
And a bad attitude playing preseason games because of guys like him. And I didn't even look at him. I just kind of growled, "When's the last time you got that crap beat out of you by a
by a boy named Rosie?" Yeah.
And I never seen him again. So I guess he thought it over. But that was the way of the hockey world at that time, and it's changed, I think, for the better, especially for the players. Maybe not quite as exciting for the fans. I mean, don't get me wrong, a true hockey fan gets just as excited over a good player, a good pass, or somebody that back checks that saves a goal. But back in the 70s, hockey was new to Saginaw, and they gravitated to the physical style of play. That was the nature of the beast back in the day.
I remember, people saying, "Oh, we'll go to a fight, wait for a hockey game to break out."
Yeah, just happened. That's how it was. That's how they sold it back in those days.
In the Ontario Hockey League, anyway, they're limited to 3 fights in a season, and if they get that third one, they're out for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and that's good. Especially in junior hockey leagues. You don't want your players going out there and being intimidated and such. I don't know that that's the formula for success in pros, because
Well, they haven't limited in pros.
yeah,
They've tried to crack down on it, but they haven't limited it.
and well, so I mean, they've cracked down in the way that they don't just sign the quote unquote goon to go out and run around, gets 3 shifts a game, and ends up with 560 penalty minutes in the course of a year, and basically no ice time. So you know that part of it really had to be cracked down on. But intimidation is a little bit in pro hockey. It's part of the deal. Now it's been eliminated somewhat, and rightfully so, because a player shouldn't be nervous to go out and play, but also he should have like I use Marcel Como as an example. I think Marcel had 1 fight in his entire career in Saginaw, and when it was over, he went around and started picking up gloves. And I skated up to him and I said, "Hey, Buck, get to the penalty box. I got the gloves." But he was doing what he did after a fight.
Yeah,
because he was never in them. And doesn't mean that he wasn't a tough individual. It doesn't mean he wasn't mentally strong. It doesn't mean that he was scared to play, because he wasn't. He'd go against anybody, and he'd chop anybody, but he just wasn't a fighter. And a lot of guys were like that. Paul Evans was like that.
Well, a lot of good finesse shooters, goal scorers.
They weren't.
Most of the fighters, you found them behind the blue line on the D.
Usually, yeah. And but a lot of skilled players, they were brave individuals, because that was a tough time to play hockey, and they flourished in it finesse wise, goals, assists, and stuff. So yeah, a lot of really good players and a lot of really tough players.
You grew up in New Lisker, Canada, way up north, and when did you come to the realization hockey could be a career?
Well, it certainly wasn't when I was in New Liskard. I was far from a good player. I was not, I made the midget team, which is, mid-teens, as a defenseman. And I can't prove this, but I think the only reason that I made the team was my dad was really good friends with Chief Bowles, the chief of police, who was also the coach of the midget team. And I made it as a defenseman, and I was aggressive, and I tried hard. But again, I lacked a lot of the maturity to play defense. You got to be patient, and, I wasn't. I was gung-ho. And at the end of the midget season, when I was aging out of midget and going on to what was called juvenile at that time, that was the big team in our town. That was the place a hockey player wanted to be. They charged to get into our games. We traveled as far as Rouen-Noranda, Kirkland Lake, Schumacher, various places. You traveled. They supplied the equipment, the sticks. You had the jacket. That was big, walking around town with the New Liskard Cubs jacket on. Anyway, I remember at the last game of the midget season, the juvenile coach, whose name was Don Shepherdson, he would come in and he would talk to the eligible players if he wanted them. Some he didn't talk to. But he came up to me and he said, "Mr. DeRoger, I would like you to come out and try out for the New Liskard Cubs next year. But I'm going to tell you right now, you're not a defenseman. You are now a right winger." I walked home with my buddies. I'm going, I don't know. I'm really happy to be going out, but I don't know how to play forward. I've been a defenseman my whole life. Well, if I would have stayed a defenseman, I'd be driving snowplow in New Liskard, Ontario right now, because I wasn't a good one. And I went out and spent a couple years playing for Shep with the New Liskard Cubs, and then a player had played down south, a guy named Andy Houle, had recommended me to a junior B team down in southern Ontario in St. Thomas. And I went there that year, and there were 62 kids in camp, including the returning players, of course. And out of those 62, they kept, the majority of the returning players, they kept another fella named Alan Lennox and myself. And the other fella had made the team the year before but got homesick and went home. So he was kind of a shoo-in. Mm. So basically I was one of the 2 players they kept out of that huge training camp. And at the time you're going through it, you don't realize what the odds are. You just figure, I get to play hockey. So I played there, and then that team turned Junior A the following year. I spent a couple years playing Junior A, and we actually ended up in the finals against Flin Flon my last year. They won. They had a stacked team. They had Clark and Leach, and whatever there was, 22 guys on the team, all but one played pro somewhere, whether it was in the NHL or in the minors. So they were pretty good. And after that, I got an opportunity to play a couple years in the Eastern League with guys like Borden Smith, who ended up playing in Saginaw, and Cal Hammond and Murray McNeil and Russ Friesen and those guys. And then Blair put a team in. He was the general manager of the Ren Blair was the general manager of the Minnesota North Stars. Right. He was also the general manager of the Clinton Comets, which is where I was playing at that time. And he was sending some of his young players to that league, to Clinton, to get experience. And when he and Paul Wendler got together and put a team in Saginaw, he brought me over. Actually, I think I might have been the first guy he signed, because I signed in midsummer and came to Saginaw, and the rest is Saginaw history.
We'll take a break on that and come back. We're talking to Dennis DesRosiers, who's going to be honored this Thursday at the Saginaw Spirit game. Talking more about his career, more about hockey. And if you have any questions for Dennis, you can give us a call, 989-752-6111.
For 60 years,
All right, we're back with you in studio with me. We call him Rosie. Dennis DesRosiers is with us. This hockey great's going to be honored this Thursday by the team. And he is also honored by a new book about his life and times, written by Don Steele. And have you read it yet?
I lived it. I don't have to read it.
I wondered how close it is to reality.
No, it is. Don done a great job, and that was a pretty long project. I spent a lot of time across a desk from Don, and actually I had met Don before, didn't know him much, but got to know him. What a great guy, what a smart guy. He's done so much in his life that I keep telling him, what the heck are you writing a book about me for? Write it about you.
I'll tell you what, they interviewed a lot of people. Because I got a call and was on the phone for an hour with the other fellow that was doing the research.
Yeah, Lawrence.
So I spent an hour lying about you, and it was just...
Well, I appreciate every word. Do I have to pay by the word, by the way?
I'll let you know. But this Thursday, you'll be at the game. And are you going to do the puck drop too? Or
I'm not sure. I got to find that
I know we're going
stuff
to raise
out
your
today.
banner because I'm going to be there.
Yeah, I'm finding out all the details later today, and I'll, I appreciate everything they're doing. So whatever they say to do, I'll be there. I know Jimmy Nightingale told me that I think it starts at around 5:30 or something.
Mm-hmm.
They want to do
in the celebration room.
signing books and such,
Yep.
and then go from there to the on ice banner. I don't know what that's. I got to find out what that involves, where to go, when to be there.
Yeah, so do
And then
I.
back to yeah.
Because I'm mouthing
Hopefully
off for
someone
you.
knows. And then if need be, back to
Sign more
autographing
books.
some of the books. And I mean, it was, as I said, a great experience. And I thought that Don and his group did a great job with the book. And I'm humbled by it. It's when you grow up coming out of New Liskeard, you're just happy to play a little hockey, and then all of a sudden, since I've been in Saginaw, it's one thing after another, just great things happening.
Well, your name's been associated with hockey around here since the 70s.
Yeah, it's been a long time, and enjoyed almost every minute of it.
Yes, I've enjoyed knowing you almost every minute of it too. There are a few minutes. There are a few minutes in our relationship that didn't exactly thrill me. One time, and I think this goes back to the days of the Saginaw Generals, one of the alliterations of teams that you coached here.
Right.
They sent me down to do interviews in the morning with you. And you showed up with your skates, and I walked out onto the ice. And you took great pleasure in shooting pucks around me at about 100 miles an hour. And I stood there frozen.
And Art, I apologize for that, but you probably really don't know how big a danger you were in, because I wasn't that accurate. It was all speed, no finesse.
Well, I'm still sitting here, so I'm okay. I'm still here, and but hockey, it seems to me Michigan has become a center of hockey.
Yeah, well, a lot of that's environmental. Obviously the reason a lot of Canadians at one time came from Canada was because of the weather, and a lot of players from Minnesota, Michigan, Massachusetts. You're not going to get a whole lot out of Alabama or Mississippi, you know what I mean? It's just environmental, and we grew up.
Well, you grew up at frozen ponds, and you go outside and skate all the time. Right?
Well, yeah, and my dad was town superintendent, and if there was an empty lot, they would put boards up on it and freeze. They would send the big
create a pond
trucks, the tanker trucks out, and create a rink in no time flat with those big trucks. And they'd every once in a while, if a snowstorm come, they would clean it, and they would refinish the ice. And so it gave the kids a lot of, I say the kids, myself and my friends, we had a lot of options other than the organized hockey, which was usually on the weekends. We could basically skate all week long somewhere. And the other good thing that, for me in particular, was I grew up with a brother that's less than a year younger than me. So when we weren't skating, we were playing hockey in the driveway, shooting pucks.
I was going to say, I thought that's where you learned to fight.
Well, that's what my brother says. He was instrumental in the training process, but it was one of those sibling things. Like, we'd fight all day long, but don't ever pick on him or don't ever pick on me, because you'll be in trouble.
Yeah.
But it was a great way to grow up, and we had a lot of ice, a lot of hockey in the winter. We lived right on a lake. We had a lot of boating activities and water skiing and stuff like that. So we were very active, physically active.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we have a call waiting. Cam and Freeland will get to you in just a couple of minutes.
Hi, I'm Stan.
We're back with you in studio with me, hockey great Dennis DeRozier. Going to be honored this Thursday. His book will be at the game, at the Saginaw Spirit game Thursday evening. He'll be signing them in the Celebration Room from 5:30 till about 6:45 or thereabouts, when we have to take him down for his banner-raising ceremony, and then he'll return if needed to sign more books. But Cam is in Freeland, wants to say hi. Cam, good morning. You're on with Rosie.
Good morning, Dennis and Art. It is an honor to speak to true Saginaw royalty this morning. And I moved to Michigan, and I left Louisiana the last day of February of '77, got to here the 1st of March, and kept hearing about hockey, which was something that I had not ever once seen one game. And so I got a ticket, set on the blue line, and a gentleman next to me was nice enough to explain the game and all the a basic understanding of hockey by the time I left. I went back to the radio station and asked them if anybody was covering the games. They said no. They gave me 2 press pass tickets, and I asked my wife out, and our very first date together was a Saginaw Gears game, and I think we fell in love there because we both love hockey. I'm sure there must be a lot of teammates that you remember, but I bet there's some opposing guys that you remember, and one that's always stuck out for me played for Toledo, and when you guys won the Turner Cup and hoisted the cup, Paul Tantardini. Does that name ring a bell to you?
Never heard of him.
Oh, Mom.
No, I'm joking. I knew Tanner. I respected Paul Tandardini a lot because Tanner wasn't that big of a. I mean, he was not quite as big as me, and I'm not. He was very aggressive, but he had to be. He that's what kept him in the league. That's what kept him in hockey. He actually had a couple of good years offensively, but his main point was he was an agitator, and he stirred things up. And I'll tell you one thing: he wasn't the toughest guy in the world, but he'd fight the team bus if he had to. He just wanted to win. I'm not the guy. I had my share of goes with Tanner, but the guy that really used to own him was Dave Wessner. Poor Tanner never ever caught on that Westy was a lefty, and they'd get into it, and Westy would feed him about 20 jabs in the chops, and Tanner would shake his head and wonder, what the hell happened there? 2 games later, come out and do it again. So I give Tanner a lot of credit. He was a team man. He'd do whatever it took to win, and he's the kind of guy that is a real pain to play against, but I know his teammates loved him, and he's a great team man.
Yeah, very good.
Well, one thing you might not be aware of about him is when you guys would leave in between periods, he would always stay out and skate around the ice listening to all the boos for about 2 to 3 minutes after everybody else had left.
Well, that's when you get hilarious. When you get booed in an opposing building, that's like cheers, So
Yeah.
Tanner was a good showman. He, as I said, he's the kind of guy that you absolutely hated to play against. Not that he was that tough, but he was never going to quit, and he would give it 100%. And to play with him, great team man.
Cam, I got to take a break, but thanks for calling.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
We love you, Dennis.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye-bye now. We'll be right back.
I remember brushing my hair and looking down and thinking, oh my gosh, do I have any hair left?
I used to look at women with thick, beautiful hair and think, why doesn't my hair look like that?
My thinning hair is making me feel so old.
If you want thick, healthy, gorgeous hair, then you need Hair Volume from New Nordic. With clinically proven ingredients like apple extract, biotin, and millet, Hair Volume nourishes your hair follicles to promote thicker, healthier looking hair. Say goodbye to shedding, thin, and dull hair, and hello to thick, healthy hair with Hair Volume.
Since taking Hair Volume, the shedding has all but stopped.
Now, instead of being jealous of other women's hair, I have friends who are jealous of mine.
My hairdresser couldn't believe the difference in my hair. Now she's using Hair Volume too.
Available as a tablet or delicious gummy, Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com, or find Hair Volume in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Sherry, what have you done to
All right, we're back. One final segment with hockey great and icon in this area, Dennis DeRozier, who this Thursday will be honored with a banner raising at the Spirit Game. Also, his new book. What's it titled?
I think it's called Rosie.
I thought it was too. And Rosie will have the book there, and they'll be selling them, and he'll be signing them beginning around 5:30 in the celebration room. And then the banner will be raised just before the game, and then he'll go back and sign more books. So kind of plan to be there to honor this guy who really put hockey, among others, but primarily put hockey on the map in this town. And the way I can demonstrate that is many years ago I got to interview Doc Emmerich, the hockey great announcer, who was in the IHL back in the day in Port Huron. And so I was talking to Doc, and I said, well, yeah, you're in the IHL. You used to come to Saginaw, right? And what do you remember about Saginaw? And he said, I only remember one thing about Saginaw, Dennis DeRozier.
And that's a compliment, Doc. I appreciate it.
I imagine that was because you were pretty tough on his team, but
well, you got to play your game. You know, I mean, I remember one time Don Perry had told me, he says, you had, I forget now what it was, 300 penalty minutes and 42 goals or whatever. Yeah. He had it all figured out, and he said if you'd have cut it back to 100 minutes, you'd have ended up being on the ice more. You'd have scored this many goals. You know, and I said, okay, Fred, I'll win the Lady Byng for you, which is the most gentlemanly player in the National League. And we're about 6 weeks into the season, and I'm trying to play
his game,
or the game he wanted me to play.
Yeah.
And I was doing absolutely nothing. And I remember Big Archie Henderson, over by the penalty box at the Saginaw Civic Center, did something to Marcel. And not because Arch didn't pick on smaller guys, but he inadvertently did something. And I turned on the bench. I says, Fred, I've had enough of this BS. He says, do what you got to do. I jumped over the boards, grabbed a hold of Archie, and took a licking. Arch was about 6'6" prior to putting his skates on.
Yeah, but there were many you took a licking
and
from. And
tough. But I tell that story not to say I took a licking, which I did, but to realize that experiment was over. And I went on after that and had a good season. And the point being,
your game.
You got to play your game. I couldn't play the way Marcel played or Paul Evans played or Westy played. I had to do what I had to do, and a lot of times it meant I took a lot of penalties, and but that's the way I had to play. And
as a matter of fact, 1,690 minutes of them.
Yeah. Back in those days, we only had 3 lines, and Dave Westner and I, for many years, were 2 of the 3 right wingers, and when somebody in your position got a penalty or a major penalty where you're off for an extended period of time, that means you were double shifting. And I used to tease Westy that, I really didn't want to fight much, but Don Perry told me, he says, I got to get Westner in shape, so you got to take some penalties. I can double shift him, get him in shape. And that's not a true story, because Westy was always in shape, a good player. In fact, probably, as I said before, in my mind, probably the most complete player. He was tough enough. He was a good goal scorer. He was good playmaker. He was good defensively, and all around. You got to have those kind of guys on your team if you're going to have success.
We were blessed. A number of the Spirit players hung around here.
Yeah,
Westy hung around here. Jean-Marie Nicole.
Yeah, and Warren Holmes was here for quite some time.
Homer was here.
Yeah, so and I think even after us, some of the teams that I'm not that familiar with, I think a few guys out of that era hung around also. And so, I mean, it's a tip of the hat to Saginaw that people would come here, play, and want to stay here.
Well, it's a tip of the hat to Saginaw that even though there have been several alliterations of hockey after the Gears, and not very good ones most of the time.
All of the time.
All of the time.